Hello everybody, my name is Tanya and welcome to my art channel where I do art creations in different types of media, but mostly watercolor. And what I have here today is this whimsical tree that I did with gouache and rubbing alcohol and some pens. And I'll show you how I did this today. It's a really fun project to do. So here's my gouache paints. They're dried up, so I just reactivate them with water, and the colors I used are purple, I used magenta, ivory black, titanium white, yellow, aqua blue, and some light green, and I will put that all in description. I used a calligraphy brush, a white acrylic marker, a lavender gel pen, a white gel pen, and an extra fine black gel pen. And I used cold pressed watercolor paper from my journal. It's just a cellulose budget friendly paper, and I taped it off. So it's approximately about a 5x7 piece of paper. So I'm starting the background wet on wet. So I spray a fair amount of water on the background there, and in my left hand there is my rubbing alcohol. So you want to make sure when you do this technique that you have your rubbing alcohol and isopropyl alcohol, any percentage will do, have that in a dropper, because that's kind of the key to this. So I'm dropping down my paint for the background. Now you do not have to use gouache. You can use watercolor. Watercolor will work just as wonderfully with this. I used both. So I start with the magenta, then add some of the purple. So I'm just adding my colors to the background, and this is wet on wet. I add some green, then I will be adding some yellow, and blue, I think, and white. But as you can see, I'm just kind of creating a background where the background for my tree. I'm leaving some white spaces here and there, just laying the color down, nothing perfect. And the reason I use gouache instead of watercolor is because gouache to me has like a velvety background, and I just wanted that background today for this painting. But like I said, watercolor works basically the same for this. So I'm just moving my color around, tilting my paper, letting the colors mingle. I think I just accidentally called it watercolor instead of gouache. So when I start dropping the alcohol on here, you want to make sure your paper's wet still, but not too wet. You don't want puddles of water on here when you drop your alcohol, or else it will not make those nice round shapes. So as you can see, I'm taking my dropper and I'm pressing it against the paper and squeezing right there. Oh, that one I dropped high above. So I have to explain, there's two ways that I'm doing this, I guess. The first way is I'm pressing my dropper against the paper as I squeeze the alcohol out, and it creates the round blobs that have kind of like that small circle in the center with more white on the outside. Then there's another way where I'm dropping my alcohol from above. I'm not squeezing the dropper against the paper, and it creates the round blobs where there's more color in the middle. So you can see there's a couple different types in there. So it just depends on how the blob that's created depends on how you use your dropper. So if you have never done this method before, just practice on a piece of paper. Just take some paint, spread it out, and before it dries, just experiment and put your alcohol on there. Because if you have not done this before, I highly suggest doing some practice paintings, practice runs before you do, your painting that you want to keep, or just, this is a really fun technique. It's something that you can experiment with, which I've done a lot experimenting with this type of technique before. So just experiment and have fun. So now I am taking my black gouache and I am just painting in tree limbs and a tree trunk, basically. So this is intuitive. I don't sketch anything out. I do have a thought in my mind how I want it to look, of course, but it's kind of just on the fly, which makes it fun. Now, of course, you don't have to do a tree. You can do, which I've done before. I've made stems for flowers, or like a branch. It all depends on what you want to do. And how I kind of look at my blobs and see, try to make something out of it, what I see when I'm looking at it, which, is exciting to do, I think. It's fun to me. This is a relaxing type of painting for me. I've tried all different colors with this, different papers, and I've noticed some papers work better than others with this, and certain paints too. So you just kind of, like I was saying before, experiment with what you have and see which paper, which paints give the best effect that you're looking for you. Like I said, this paper is a cellulose paper that I actually got at Hobby Lobby and I made into my own journal. This paper works well. I've also used, I've tried Arches, I've tried Fabriano, 100% cotton, both of those papers, they work well. But I've noticed this paper and Strathmore, the 400 series, seems to work the best for this technique for some reason. And my gouache paints work really well. Certain watercolors that are more staining or permanent don't work as well for this technique with the alcohol because it stains the paper more, and I think it doesn't, when you put the alcohol on there, it doesn't create such white blobs because it stains the paper. But I've found that my gouache seems to work pretty well for this, and my watercolor too, but certain colors that are non-staining work better. So now comes the fun part. Well, that was the fun part too, but here's when I start putting my details after everything. Of course, everything's dry when I'm doing this into my blobs. And this is where you can kind of just let your imagination go. And of course, you can use any pens you have, any colors you want, but I do like using just a black fine tip pen a lot for details. This video is done on real time. I didn't speed it up. I did, of course, edit and take out long pauses, but it is done real time, which kind of makes it nice for the viewer. If you guys would like to see more of these types of paintings, please comment below and let me know. I always have ideas in my mind what I could do with this technique of using the alcohol. Besides trees, you could do flowers. I've made eyeballs, which are fun, especially for Halloween time of year. But and there's other things I think you could do with this. But if you like this style, just comment below and let me know. As you can see here, I'm using a white gel pen, and this gel pen is wonderful. I will put in the description box below, I will put the brand of gel pen this is, and I'll also do it for my other pens that I use. But if you're like me and like to use white gel pens, sometimes it's hard to find one that works for you or that doesn't have some kind of issue. I've tried about, not too many, maybe 4 brands of gel pens. And this one so far is my favorite. it doesn't skip when you're using it. I know a lot of gel pens I have used have issues with the flow of the ink. It skips or dries out. And I keep my pens always covered. I put them in a plastic, little container when I'm done because I want to keep them from drying out. But this one, it just flows nicely, and this paper that I'm using does have a tooth on it. It's not hot pressed, so it's cold pressed, and it does have a tooth, and it writes nicely over that. As you can see, it's just a good gel pen, so I do recommend it for people that use white gel pens. Now, when I am done with this white one, I will be using a lavender gel pen, and that's, I believe, a Gellyroll gel pen for the details on the branches and trunk. So here's my lavender gel pen that I'm using to start adding some details to the trunk, the limbs in the trunk. I really like stripes when I do these trees for some reason. I don't know, I just like the look of the stripes. Now, I like the way that I almost left the trunk black like that, and the ground too. But I couldn't help myself. I just kept on going. And as you can see, when the gouache dries, it has that velvety look to it. And that's one of the reasons why I like to use gouache for these paintings. I just like the look. It reminds me of those velvet blacklight posters that you can color in or buy. If they still do that these days, I don't know. I'm probably aging myself, dating myself talking about those. So when I'm done with this, I do come in with an acrylic marker, it's a Sharpie, add some dots to the background, which I didn't record, but I do that. You'll see. Suddenly dots appear. There, see, I'm sorry, but that's all I did there. So it's done. I mean, I could go on forever and keep adding details, but sometimes keeping it a little simple, I wouldn't call this simple, is better though. But I want to thank everybody for watching and giving me your time. And I hope this inspires you to create your own whimsical tree or flowers with this method. It's really fun to do. Great for beginners and to kind of use your creativity. So please like and subscribe if you haven't, and have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for watching. See you with the next one soon. Bye-bye.